Hi, and welcome to my YouTube video. Today I'm showing you a time lapse of this landscape painting and sharing a bit of my process behind the piece. I just want to start by sharing that I'm a student of art. I'm teaching myself skills for illustration and painting. I'm using a variety of books, podcasts, different online resources, and everything. Personally, I'm working towards creating a portfolio of work and building an effective creative process to eventually work in an art-related field. My background is actually in education, so I really like making these videos to augment and share my art learning. So I hope this video is useful to you if you're on your art journey too. The photo reference I'm using for this drawing was taken by the photographer Max Steen. If you're into architectural photography of abandoned places, please check out his work. The link is in the description below. His photographs are superb and really transport you to another place and time. So I wanted to practice painting from this image because I think I'm struggling to understand realistic color relationships in different lighting situations, and I thought it would be good perspective practice to try and paint a building like this. If you can see in the beginning of the video, it takes me a while to get the perspective grids accurate to the photo. I think I kind of overcomplicated things at the beginning by trying to be really accurate with my perspective, and I created too many grids and it kind of just got lost. If you want to get a better understanding of what I was doing with the lines there, I'm going to post a link to a video in the description by BAM Animation where they go over perspective grids. I found it really helpful. The original photo has 3-point perspective, but to simplify things in my painting, I just ended up using 2-point perspective because 3-point felt a little overwhelming. If you're new to those terms, 3-point means all the vertical parts of the building or slightly angled towards a vanishing point that is kind of towards like the middle of the earth, like far below the horizon line. So instead, I just kept the image simple by removing the third vanishing point. So all the verticals that of going on diagonal a little bit were just kept completely straightly vertical. I think sometimes people think it's cheating to use grid lines or to kind of trace to help draw art. It doesn't always feel like it's a true artistic pursuit when you're tracing or copying things directly a little bit, but I think it is helpful when you're studying a piece like this to use grid lines or to practice with some kind of crutches to help you learn or motivate yourself to learn. In the future, instead of using grid lines and a photo reference like this, my end goal would be to be able to paint something more imaginative than just replicating a photo. But I think I need to do studies like this with some tracing just to help me learn and give myself some scaffolding before getting to more challenging art tasks. If you're in education, you've probably heard of the zone of proximal development. I'll put the Wikipedia link in the description, but that's basically what I'm trying to do with studying like this. So after I got the perspective, I moved on to painting the piece, and at the beginning of the painting, I did use a lot of the ink dropper tool on the original photo to replicate the colors in the original photo in my painting. And my goal with this was to figure out what colors were in the original painting with regards to their hue, saturation, and value. So even throughout the painting process, you'll see sometimes in the time lapse that I use the ink dropper just to see what ranges the colors were in different areas of the landscape. For example, some of the grassy areas in the sunlight would fall into like the green or yellow hue range with like a medium level saturation and a medium value. It was a really good practice to do this to see where the colors were falling on the color chart or the hue cube, which is that little cube in the corner. Sometimes the shadows were on the original photo were unexpected colors. So if you look at the building, it's like a lot of neutral tones that you think are in the like blue or cyan or orange range, but some of the neutrals actually lean towards magenta and purple, which I found really interesting to see how much variety there actually was in those neutral shadow colors. Anyway, so sometimes I did use the ink dropper for this image, which is another thing that I think is kind of perhaps like a crutch. But while I was doing it, I was pushing myself to understand what was in the original photo and then try and pick colors by myself from the hue cube that seemed appropriate for the lighting situation. So I was kind of using that whole idea of scaffolding to improve my understanding. The brushes I picked while painting this piece were from a variety of brush packs that I recently downloaded. Something I'm working on is trying to not be too precious about which brush choices I use in my art pieces, because before I felt like I needed to use specific brushes or like this certain set or have my brushes organized perfectly. But what I'm realizing now is that I need to be a little bit more carefree about the brushes I'm using, because then I'll get a lot of different texture from a variety of different brushes, and I'll kind of have more fun in just like creatively using whatever brush that I want to use. So you might see in the video that sometimes I'll test a brush by scribbling with it over my painting and then erasing that, or like Control-Z-ing on the keypad. And then if I like the brush after I scribble with it, I'll use that one for whatever I'm working on. So sometimes I might want a specific effect from the brush. I'll pick a brush that has more texture to it to replicate the leaves on the tree, or I might pick a smudgy effect brush like an oil painter to help get the clouds a little bit more of that soft transition, or I picked a hard line that would help with edges of the building. So basically what I wanted to show you with this time lapse and by finishing this study is that the whole painting is done by a lot of trial and error. I actually almost gave up on this painting near the beginning before I even really started painting it, because I was getting overwhelmed by doing the perspective and trying to figure out how I'm going to draw this building. And that really intimidated me. So I'm glad I didn't give up, and I basically just decided that I was going to have fun the whole time. There was a problem that I came across when trying to make this painting. I was going to find the easiest solution and try and work from there and try and push myself through this like sense of fun. I think remembering to have fun is sometimes the hardest part about art, because a lot of the time I feel like I have to push myself hard to do a certain thing a specific way, or use a tool that another artist said I should, or try to be like a good student, or I don't know. I feel like I bring a lot of like mental baggage to like the art process, when I really just need to remember to have fun and play. Basically, everyone learns best when they're enjoying what they're learning, and I feel like once I embrace that fun, playful approach to painting this piece, I actually did really enjoy it, and I learned a lot more than when I was trying to be hard on myself while I was making it. For the future, I'm going to do more photo studies like this, because I'm finding that I'm really inspired by environment concept artists. Maybe I'll drop some in the description of this video that I've recently found that I really like their concept art. And what I like about images like this is that they kind of transport the viewer into another world full of color and life, and that's something that I really want to bring into the rest of my art. Anyway, so that's it for this video. I really appreciate everyone who watches my videos. I can't believe I'm at 70 subscribers already. It's really sweet. Thanks everyone for giving me some of your time. If you have any questions or comments, please kindly post them below, and I'll try and respond to anyone that I am able to. Thank you for watching, and have a great day. Bye.